everybody! We finally have another how-to video for the loud one, the little Protege. So what are we going to do today? Well, I've been waiting to do this one, for a while now. And big shout out to Jacob Sell, the Hydra Motorsports lightweight crank pulley. Should be a very easy job. And hold on, before I get ahead of myself. Thank you, Jacob Sell, for waiting on me patiently as I got my finances together for the lightweight crank pulley, the Hydra cam sensor cover, and some gears that we haven't got to yet, because when we do this, we're going to be doing a lot more catastrophic work for me on the side of this engine. So that's going to have to wait. That's a long-term project. But thank you very much, man. I really appreciate you being patient with me. So what you're here for, this lightweight crank pulley, should be a very, very easy job. So I'm going to run over what we're basically going to do real quick, and then we're just going to jump into it and do it. So obviously we got to get the car in the air because we need to take the wheel off. So what we're going to be doing is, for you folks that still have your power steering and AC, we're going to loosen the power steering pump, and we're going to get that belt pulled off. And we're going to loosen our alternator back here. And we're going to get this pulley off real quick. You know what? We're going to leave that on. I mean, that's going to have to come off, but we're going to leave that on until we actually get this crank pulley off. That might help us give a little bit more tension on that pulley bolt. So we're going to see. I've already started jacking it up, but we're still touching the ground, and I'm going to pull this wheel off, and we're going to take out the inner fender over here where we can see that it goes straight up there, ain't that pretty? And we're going to pull off this inner fender liner, and I'm going to fire up my little Chicago Electric Harbor Freight $119.99 sidewalk sales special air compressor and get my impact, and we're going to pull the bolt out of the crank pulley. Well, we're going to break it loose. Then we'll loosen the alternator here and pull this belt off. We'll finish taking the crank pulley off, and we're going to put that little dude that's sitting right over there. Is this right here? This little guy? We're going to put him back on the engine. We're going to button it up. It should not take us that long, providing that crank pulley bolt comes out of there like I suspect it will, with a little bit of impact pressure. So, car's started in the air. Got my jack stands ready. We're going to pull this wheel off, finish lifting the car up. We're going to take that inner fender liner out, knock the bolt loose with the air, take off this pulley, or take off this belt, take off your other belt for those of you fancy folks with air conditioner and power steering. Then we're going to finish pulling that bolt off and get this crank pulley changed. So, like I said, these aren't 10 millimeter yet, they are. So we got the front of the car pulled up in the air, pulled this wheel off. I should not have to show you all how to do that. If you can't figure that one out on your own, you probably don't need to be messing with belts and pulleys and impact wrenches and etc., etc. So these two little 10 millimeter bolts we're going to pull out. Like so. I suggest never seizing these when you put them back on. Anti-seize for the generic people like myself. I really don't want to take that whole pan off, so we're gonna hold it down like this. Let me get better light, and I'll bring you guys in to see what we're looking at here. We're ready to. I gotta get the air tank aired up here. There we go. That's perfect. So we're gonna hold this down like this. Excuse my glare. There's our big bad bolt right there. We're gonna get to. So it's probably, and I haven't checked it yet. It's probably a 17 millimeter. Make sure you get an actual 17 millimeter 6-point socket preferred. Impact would be the best. And like I said, we're going to leave that belt on there to give a little bit more tension to have to go through the water pump and the alternator just a little bit more. We're going to get the air compressor fired up and get the impact on this, and we're going to hit it a few times, and I'll probably leave that on camera too. And you will be able to see my frustration if it doesn't come off of there pretty quick, but I'm hoping that it will. And I can't remember what the torque specs are. I'll have to figure that one out here in a little bit. I think it's over 100 pounds. I think it might be like 110, 120 or something like that, but I'll get that figure and readdress that when the time comes. So there is a key in there, and I will show you that when we get that off. I guess that's it. Let me get the air compressor fired up and the impact set up, and we'll get on that thing. As it turned out to be a 21 millimeter, which I found. Oh my lord, I don't have everything. Some help. Might have a problem. Okay, so here's where we're at. After a few tries with the impact, I can't get enough air pressure to really utilize my air impact right now for this. It's not doing anything. And I watched a lot of other videos and read a lot of articles about what people said, and I called a couple people I know. And they all said this should be okay. So what we have here is my 24-inch breaker bar, a 21 millimeter Craftsman 6-point socket on here, and it's fully on our bolt. I figured out which way the engine turns. In this case, the engine turns clockwise. So when it turns clockwise, should try to back that bolt off. I hope. I think. Yeah. No. The engine's going, yeah. The engine's going to turn clockwise, and in doing so it's going to back the bolt out. So we're going to bump the starter against it. Now, I've pulled off the plug wires so it won't start, which I hate doing this. This makes me really nervous trying to do this, but I need to get this bolt out. And without getting a pulley holder tool or something, we're going to try to make do with what we have and what other people said worked. Now, all I've really done is I've put a rag between the bar and the lower suspension, and I just put a wire on it to hold it all together so the rag doesn't fall out. So it's solid up against the suspension, so when I bump the starter, it should try to turn that bolt out. So I'm going to get in the car and we're going to hit the starter, and let's hope for no breakages. Either way, it's going to be on video. Let me get my keys first. All right. Please don't let anything break. Well, I didn't like the sound of that at all. Did it do anything? Not a thing. So we gotta do that again. That horribly awful sound we have to repeat again. Maybe I can brace this against the ground. Give me a minute. This is probably gonna be catastrophic. But we're gonna try that too. That's directly up against the ground. Let me bump it again. I hate this. I hate this very much. feel like I've really broken something. Oh, because it worked. That worked. Right? That worked. I'll be damned. Okay, well, use that trick at your own risk. Brace a breaker bar against the ground and just bump the starter. I'm surprised and really hopeful I didn't break anything in doing so, but that bolt's loose, so now what we got to do is come up here and remove our alternator belt, which isn't hard. It's this, I believe it's a 12 millimeter, and it's just an adjuster because Mazda's cool. So we're going to, oh Lord, yeah, so we got to loosen this. Hold on before people start freaking out about the lighting. There we go. Okay, so we've got to remove, loosen this 12, and then we can back it off with this one. And we're going to counterclockwise and clockwise on here. We're going to move the alternator that way. We're going to loop this belt off real quick. Then we're going to get down here and pull our pulley off. It's keyed, and I think with a small pry bar it should just come right off real easy. So let's get our belt off. I'm sorry everybody, I don't know what I was thinking. I don't have a woman around to tell me when I'm wrong. This is supposed to be counterclockwise. You want that bolt to give you more space to pull the alternator up. And I said clockwise a minute ago. You want to counterclockwise that. So you want to loosen your lock bolt here counterclockwise, and then also loosen the adjustment bolt counterclockwise. I don't know why I thought it was the other way around. I haven't had a drink yet today, so now that's off. So here's the belt. Now we're going to see what's going to be involved with pulling off our pulley. Now I'm going to leave this bolt in. I'm going to loosen it, but I'm not going to take it all the way out. So if I get something behind there and I try to pry that out, the pulley just doesn't fly off, but I want to knock it loose. So let me get a big screwdriver and some pry bars, see if we can kind of work that out, because I don't have a puller. Well, looky there, I finally got it to come off of there. So we saw the bolt breaking loose and the pulley was stuck on. I could not get the pulley to slide off the shaft. It just wouldn't come off of there. It was stuck on. And I did everything from bolt a little chain through it and hit it with a 2x4 and everything else I could think of to really get it to come off. It was stuck on there. Couldn't get it to budge. So what I decided to do was get some PB Blaster, WD-40, liquid wrench, whatever kind of lubricant that you want to get. It really doesn't matter. I don't care what people say. And I sprayed it on there, and I had this 24 inch piece of 2x4 here. And as the pulley was sitting there, I just smacked it on that side and smacked it on that side a few times, about as hard as I could by hand, and sprayed some more lubricant on there. And came out here after about an hour of letting 2 coats sit on there, and I hit it a couple times with a 2x4, and she moved. Put on my trusty little gloves, and I pulled it right on off of that shaft. And I'm extremely happy to see it off of there. So, where does that leave us now? Save the polar bears. Where does that leave us now? Here is the steel pulley, and here is the lightweight pulley. So, I'm going to run inside and grab the scale real quick and get it on here. We're going to weigh these, but I can tell you it's several pounds difference. And I mean, that feels like it's 12 pounds or something almost, and this one's like 2. It's a large difference. So watch the weight actually be like 5 pounds for that and like 3 pounds for this, and you just see how stupid I actually am. But let me go grab the scale, and we'll weigh these real quick and see what the difference is going to be. Oh, before I forget, the key, okay, it didn't come off of the shaft, and I'm not going to take it off. You see it on there? I'm not going to take it off. I'm going to leave it on. But don't lose that. That's a big deal. You have to have that. That is a massive puzzle to this piece. So Now, it also might be a good idea if you want to check your seal around the crankshaft. Mine's not leaking, never has. Knock on wood, hasn't leaked, and this engine's been pretty good despite the calamities I had after I bought the thing. But anyway, don't lose your key up there, and let me get the scale real quick and let's weigh those. Alright, so let's weigh these dudes real quick. So this is our OEM. I told you I was going to be really, really wrong. It's about 6 pounds. If I can get this cheap scale to balance out here. So 6 pounds. It's about 3. So let's do that one more time. I swear. Can't buy cheap anything. Not even, like, it'd be nice if they would just make stuff cheap, but like still made it good, instead of make stuff cheap and also make it dog shit. So, yeah, so 6.5, 7 pounds, 6, 7 pounds, okay. Get it balanced back out here. Yeah, it's showing 2 to 3 pounds, so we're saving what, 4? No. I'm sorry. Yeah, I guess that's about right. Between 3 and 5 pounds off the rotating mass and just off the car in general. So this is literally win-win. And it's not, get that piece of garbage out of the way. This is not an underdrive pulley, okay? The Hydra Motorsports crank pulley is the same as OEM size. It's the same size, it's just made out of aluminum, and it's like, wait, it's not an underdrive pulley. So the belts are the same size, it's a direct fit, direct bolt on. It's simply lighter weight. And for rotational mass, that's going to help us rev the engine a little better. So I guess let's make sure our shaft, and this has been installed on a car before. I did buy it used. You can see it's been on there before, but I'm going to make sure the inside of the hole is nice and smooth, so it just slips right on the shaft. And we're going to impact that bad word on there and start the car. Well, since we have learned that the impact at 120 psi is not enough to actually break this loose, I did some Googling. The torque specs is 116 to 122 foot-pounds of torque. So what we're going to do is we're going to run it on there until the impact quits, and then I'll break out the torque wrench, and we'll see closer torque specs. So something I am going to try. Don't know if it's going to work. I doubt it. I'm probably going to have a friend of mine step on the brake. But what I've done is I took a 2x4 length that fit, and I wedged it on the brake pedal against my seat. So I'm thinking that might hold it in 4th gear if I get the torque wrench on it, but we're gonna bring this thing down with the impact real well. You know, it would help if I would get the bolt in, and that's why I didn't have it in. It's because I have red Loctite to put in it. I'm sorry everybody, forgive my insolence here. Some good amount of red Loctite on there. Don't want him coming out anytime soon, especially if I'm going around the track 50, 65 miles an hour with this thing redlined. Alright, now get the torque wrench. We're going to torque this baby down, make sure she's at about 120 foot-pounds. Now that that's on there, all we really have left to do, put our belts back on and button this baby up and see what she does. Let's make sure that we get the belt back on the... Oh, I'm sorry, knocked you guys off a little bit. Be careful, don't fall. This is a safe channel, we don't do anything unsafe. Make sure you reach down and check the pulley. Has the belt centered on it. Seem to be good. Put some tension. Back on our stereo powerer here. These are 12mm, not 10, like some moron said at the beginning of this here video. We're going to want to be careful of your stock dipstick if you're ever fortunate that still has one. I do not. I broke mine after talking about how lucky I was. There y'all go again, falling. Y'all need to be careful. You're going to get injured. Alright? Stop goofing around. Jeez. We're not a member of the never mind. I don't want... It's just an alternator belt now. We don't need supercharger belt tension here. We don't want to wear out the water pump prematurely, which is due to be replaced in the next great big giant 4-part video where I redo the entire side of this engine. See? Now that's pretty good. Now if we can see, there's about a 1/2 inch of flex on the belt. I'm going to put one more on it because I overdo things like so. And then we're going to tighten up our lock bolt here. I don't know what the torque spec is on this. I don't think it really needs one. We'll do the sound tightening method here. How hard of a grunt. Bear with me, folks. Alright, we're going to do 2 fingers and a grunt. A little bit more. There we go. There. That's where we want it, right there. That's how tight it's supposed to be. Alright. Check our tension again. About a 1/2 inch there, a little bit less. It's a little tight. She's a little bit tight. I think I might loosen up a smidge once we get it running. If it runs, it better run. It better run. Run! Okay. Now, I'm gonna have to go get my Never Sees bolt ointment. I'm not really gonna have to show you guys this part, am I? I'm not really have to show you guys this. Let's get this this massacre that I created under this car out. Get this lifted back up into place. Mind the brake line. All right. Let me grab some Never Sees bolt ointment. Or there's an ailment for a bolt and rust, especially you northern folks who live in the severely SOL north of the rust effort line. Find my bolts here, and there they are. Come here. Come here, you. Why are these two different? Alright, I see why. Never mind. Crisis averted, everybody. I'm going to put a little bit of my Never Sneeze on that one right there. Just a little bit. These bolts do run down in the crap. Again, northern people, this is directed to you. These bolts are going to be in the salt, in the water, in the mud, in the dirt, in the nasty black brown grime of the road. So let's be mindful of our poor old cars. Tube of this stuff is pretty cheap, everybody. Pretty cheap. And I know they're just holding our plastic tray up, but still. And again, these are just holding up a plastic tray. I don't know if there's torque specs on them, and if there are, I'm not looking them up. It certainly doesn't need to be that tight. We get our Master Mechanic flex wrench here, socket wrench, ratchet for you proppers. Put these guys back on. Sponsor from Master Mechanic. I love your stuff. Oh, this is going to be a one-finger job here, everybody. Don't ring them off. Don't give yourself the OF when the bolt gets tighter and tighter and tighter, and then it gets looser. We don't need that here. No room for that kind of shenanigan. Here's another one-finger job. Give it a with one finger. Right there. There she is. Now, let's look over this car here. That's on there. Alternator's tight. Belt's on good. Put my plug wires back on there from my earlier attempt at dicking with this thing. I think we're ready to give her a test fire here, everybody. Let's give it a test fire. Let's see if it starts. Shall we? Fingers crossed, everybody. Now, I'm not going to say that I notice a difference, but I kind of notice a difference. It seemed a little bit more rice me, bro. I'm happy with it. I have a race in like 4 days. I mean, of course, this video is going to be posted not in the schedule that's being recorded because I'm recording it today and it won't be posted today, but I'll probably put this one up Wednesday. Today is Monday. I race on Saturday. We're going to see what, if anything, we notice an actual difference when driving this car. I don't plan to drive it tomorrow. Got a couple doctor's appointments. I'm getting my eyes laser beamed, Star Trek'd a little bit so I can see better. So, I mean, we'll see. We'll see how it turns out. But I mean, it starts, it runs, it's idling. There's no check engine light right now because it hasn't ran long enough since I reset the codes last time to figure out that there's a very, 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 very slight vacuum leak. And my cooling fans are manually wired so I can turn them on during track days and hot laps. But I'll tell you what, the dude got on there. It looks nice, weighs less rotating mass, simple physics. It'll perform better. Whether I configure it or not, it will perform better. And it's Hydra Motorsports, so you can't go wrong. I'm going to put the wheel back on and get this little fat girl back down on the floor, and we'll see how she performs when I race. And I'll put that racing video up probably within a week of recording, and if I remember, I will comment on that in the race video as far as a running review of how she does. So there we go, everybody. There's your how to install a crank pulley / remove crank pulley bolt / remove crank pulley / Hydra Motorsports crank pulley / Signature Products beautifully engineered engine parts, as we can see all over this dude. Hydra Motorsports, everybody, she's finally starting to come together. All you people who've been patiently waiting for me to do this. And the cam gears are sitting inside, so when we finally get around to these gears, we're going to also get into ZE cams, new water pump, new oil pump courtesy of Signature Products that will be bypassed. We will have an external pressure regulator and oil cooler. A lot of that hardware is going to be up here in our clean space. This is a big little reveal here. All that's going to be up here, and the oil cooler is going to go down here under there. So my AAM dry fill filter is down there, and the oil cooler is going to be down here behind the fender. Cams, cam gears, oil pump, water pump, timing belt, tensioner, etc., etc. It's going to be a huge video, everybody. But don't lose patience with me yet. Little Mazda is going to come together before it's all over with.
Behind me, you'll see a car.